how it was possible that he was an illegitimate child, and in that sense that he would have been the 11th generation that would have broken the bastard curse of the 10 generations before him.
Okay.
Which made sense, but
there's a way this is going to fit. I know this seems totally off topic, but God is just so cool. He's going to make this fit. Watch this happen, okay? It's going to happen right before our eyes. Keep going.
So like you were saying earlier, I was like, how come I never heard this before? How come I never had never been raised that was possible? That's why he wasn't invited. Because when a prophet said, bring all your sons, he would have brought all his sons. But knowing that David, if that's true, he wouldn't have been considered an heir to
yes.
like the rest of the brothers. And when he went to go bring them food and was asking about Goliath, one of the brothers said, he questioned his whole motivation for being there. And then when David came into being king, none of his brothers were part of around him,
Mm-hmm.
So in that I was like, wow, that totally changes things when you think about who David was and how he handled himself, both when he was watching the sheep and then when he came into his kingdom, and respecting even Saul's position through that whole time period, and how the Psalms and how honest they are. We can all identify with them because we've all been in that place at one time or another of rejection. And anyway, after hearing that, I was like, wow, this is really, because I always wondered why he was left out.
Right. So if any of you are familiar, when Jesse's family, or he was asked to bring all of his sons before the prophet, which was, I'm sorry, I'm having a blank, Samuel. And, of course, David was left. Many thought it was because he was the youngest. There is speculation that it was because he was an illegitimate child, and that's why he wasn't included in the sons. It wasn't just that he was the youngest, so that's what you're referencing. And so when he said, don't you have another son? Because the Lord had said, not this one, not this one, not this one. And so it does really speak to, and there is a lot of speculation historically about this story and about David's right within the family. So here's what I felt like, I don't know how that fits entirely with your question, but here's what I feel like it fits with us for now, because it's really cool. Inheritance. If you would mind putting inheritance on here. I think that I have spent most of my life trying to believe my intimacy, or that intimacy is possible with God. I think that I have spent most of my life trying to earn or get to a place of intimacy with God. I don't know if you have felt that way. I know I just talked to some women a couple of months ago, and I had said, what do you feel like God's saying in your life? And the gal said to me, I don't know, I haven't done my devotions lately. Right? How many of us have thought, right, that we have to earn the right to have relationship with the Lord? To have intimacy, that we have to be doing the right things. And if there's a piece that's missing in our lives, or a sin that's active in our life, that somehow we don't deserve to hear Him. And I feel the Lord saying in this case, I don't know how this fits for you specifically, but for all of us, I feel the Lord saying, it is your inheritance that you be owned by me, that you be known by me. In fact, my kids don't earn the right to have relationship with me through their behavior, right? I don't choose to speak to them or not speak to them based on how they behave around the house. They have access to relationship with us because they exist. And I feel like this is such a key part of overcoming religion, is that we are learning that it is our inheritance. No matter what circumstance we find ourselves in, it is our inheritance that we have access to intimacy with God. and that we have access to what dwells in us, which is the very faith of God regarding us. So that was kind of cool and tricky all at the same time. So we're going to wrap up here in just a moment. But God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. And our belief, right? We have been founded on that verse, right? Again, check this out. Check out where the ownership of this comes from. You can look it up. That's John 3:16. Check out where the belief comes from in the very way that this verse is set up. Right? Because we've all thought that it comes from our ability to believe. But hasn't belief just become another level of performance? Yay! So ever since we first heard of you, we have kept on praying and asking God to help you understand what he wants to do, asking him to make you wise about spiritual things, asking you that you will live, that the way you live will always please God. That's Colossians 1:9. So ever since they heard of you, we've kept on praying and asking God to help you understand. That's so good about spiritual things. And Eli wrote, thanks Eli, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Yay! Strength. So would you write up strength? I just feel the Lord encouraging us and wanting to take a moment to acknowledge that card in particular and strength, and him going, can you hear it? Do you feel it? Can you hear it? What do you hear?
It's not our strength. It's not our right or wrongs or our behavior. It's just his atmosphere around us.
Yeah. So I'm sorry we didn't get that on, but she was saying it's his. But let me add to that, if that's okay. It is so his agreement about us being made able that makes us able. It is so him knowing, because we've been taught to think for so long that we're so weak and unable. And him going, you only find yourself weak and unable when you don't realize that I made you capable and able, but only through my seeing you capable and able do you have the revelation yourself of your own magnificence. So good, okay? Rejoice in the Lord always, and again I say rejoice. And raised up with him and seated with him in heavenly places, yes! Our spirit is continually seated with God, which is so fun, right? And that's how we know these things. It's because we can perceive it in our spirit. And do not worry about your life, what to eat, what you will wear, etc. Is not the body more than clothes, which goes right with the last one, because we are seated in spiritual places. And I don't want to miss one of them, so I'm going to do these last two. He says, I am the vine. And sing and be glad and rejoice with all your heart, for the Lord has taken away your punishment and turned back your enemy. Never will you fear any harm. He will take great delight in you. He will quiet you with his love and rejoice over you with singing. Woo! So we will finish with this. If you will look at your card about what God wanted to say to you tonight. I feel the Lord going, let me flip this, because so many of us are so in tune with worshiping the Lord that he wants us to understand how much he celebrates us. Like, Greg and I just went to Darby's volleyball game, She's a part of a new team, and she got to be setter, and the team is like all over the place. They're like learning new strategy that they've never learned before, and he put her as a setter, and she's even a back row setter, which she's never really even seen done before. And we were sitting in the stands watching our daughter run all over the court, to get to a set, and it was that not the most, and Abraham kept blowing bubbles, next to me and and I'm like, stop with the bubbles. I want to see my girl run around and knock the ball. It was so exciting. It was so fun to just celebrate her magnificence. And I just felt the Lord saying, in this space, can you hear me singing over you in your magnificence? You might be in a space in your life where you are doing plays you have never done before. You might be in a space in your life where you are trying out things that you have never tried before. You might be doing things that you're like, I don't even know if this is possible. I'm totally, utterly confused. And I feel the Lord going, I am so excited about this. Let me sing and be glad and rejoice over you. Let me, in fact, if you can just hear this, hear the Lord saying, let me rejoice over you with all my heart. Let me take away anything that you have perceived as punishment and turn back anything that has felt like it has come against you. Let me help you know that you never fear any harm, because I take great delight in you, and I will guide you with my love, and I will rejoice over you with singing. So may we this week hear him sing over us. May we hear him in our dreams. May we hear him in our awake. May we see his adoration for us reflected in each other's eyes. Yay. Does anybody want to take a moment and share what they felt like God wanted to say to them tonight?
I'm Bianca, and the Lord said to me, relax into what I have planned for you. Your illusion of any kind of control is now surrendered.
Woo! That's so good.
I had an interesting conversation with somebody, and they very gently and lovingly challenged me about hearing from God, and said, how do you have enough confidence in yourself to attempt this or to do this? And I really had to spend some time with it. And I mean, I kind of knew what I wanted to say back, but I really didn't have nobody had ever posed that question that way, that I'm so confident in myself to try to listen for other people. But when you said inheritance, so I think it goes to your verse, the light bulb went on. It's not my confidence in myself, it's my inheritance as a part of, as God's daughter, that I get to hear my dad.
Yes.
And know his heart, know his heart.
Yes.
So that was really
so
beautiful.
good.
So thanks for sharing that verse.
That was yours, Eli, right?
No, I think that was Dave.
Oh, it was Dave's. Sorry.
David.
Yep, David. Yep, sorry. Got confused there, but yes. Did somebody else here, and then did you want to share? Okay.
It was really simple. It was to
Good.
listen.
You can say it again.
It was just to listen. But what I found on the other side is, what does this mean and what shall I do? It was to receive and enjoy and don't forget.
Woo! Wow. That takes it to a whole nother level. Very cool. Okay, anyone else? Did you want to?
Yeah.
Greg's going to... Hold on one second.
Sure. What was wild about that was I binged watched Game of Thrones for kind of over the summer, and got to this latest season when it was going. So
You're not going to wreck this, right?
What's that?
It's a spoiler, right? You're not going to tell us what happens.
So then I had to wait till every week to watch it, as opposed to watching 5 or 6 episodes at one time. But we got to the point at the end where this character, Jon Snow, has always considered to be a bastard son. So he was not, he wasn't an heir to the throne. And so he never thought of himself as that. So at that same time, when I was watching this, I heard this message like a week later about the possibility that David was a bastard. So he never, like, the thought that, and then I felt impressed that the Father was saying that there's that mentality largely in the church, that there's the thought that we're bastards, so we're not heirs, or we're not, we can't partake in that inheritance.
Yeah.
And that he is ready to break that bastard curse, or whatever that people feel like they're under, even not even knowing it. But what I had tonight that he wanted to show me was just smooth river rocks with water flowing over them, and how that happens is just a surrender, as you said. Happens over long periods of time, and it feels so good underneath your feet. But that it's just river rock is exactly what it is, because it allows the water to flow. It doesn't have a choice, really. But anyway, that's how the whole inheritance thing came about for me, and thinking that, because it did really change my view of his writing, and even today, you think if he lived today, there wouldn't be a lot of church leaders that would want to canonize his works, any of his writing or anything that he had done, or even his story, because of his failures, So I guess that just points to what the Father wants. No man can shut a door that he opens, which is the key of David. So
right. There is a season where we shift from, I think all of us would consider ourselves, I think this language is language that has been used very often as a servant of the Lord, right? We serve the Lord. It's been language that many of us have identified with. I felt someone challenge me that several years ago, David, and I think that it really speaks to what you're talking to. Whereas when we shift out of being a servant and we start to become a son or a daughter, because a servant doesn't know about their master's business, a servant just does what they're told. But a son or a daughter knows their inheritance and knows that everything around them is theirs. And a son or a daughter knows the heart of their parent. And they are trusted to go about the family business. They are trusted to go and be an ambassador of the family's mission. And I love that transition where we go from being obedient until we go and be partners with God in a great adventure. So, is there anyone else who wants to share? And then we'll wrap up. Marcy wants to share. Fantastic.
Okay, when you said the word bastard son, this whole concept, this whole truth, I should say, of the faith of God as opposed to having faith in God has been something that I've been chewing on for the last couple weeks, but I'm realizing that in the beginning, God said, the Godhead said, let us make man in our image and likeness. And the faith of God saw that. And
it's in us.
He wasn't caught off base because of the fall of Adam. We have that mentality of being bastard sons because we identify ourselves with Adam. But actually, our original identity was prior to Adam, because God said, let us make man in our image. And as Angela was saying, we were in God's thought before the foundations of the world. And so there are no bastard sons. That's all.
So good. It's so good. Some of us come easily into that revelation, and some of us, it is our life purpose to come into that revelation. And so whether it is your life purpose, and therefore it is a great struggle, or whether you are gifted it, through the journey of others, it is so our birthright, right? It's so good. Yay! So we're going to bring kids in. Did someone go to get kiddos?
I don't think so.
Okay. Taylor, thank you. Thank you. One of the things we love to do is give an opportunity for all of us to practice hearing the Lord with each other. And I actually really felt like we should get out the taboo cards, which we haven't done, and I think they're in the tub, but it got so organized, I'm not sure where they are. So if you're able to find them, Jocelyn, what I would love to do when kids come back in is for us to take a moment, and we'll actually do a little example right up front so you can see, because the first time I did this, I'll have to tell you, I was basically having little mini heart attacks. Because I was like, can you really do taboo cards and listen to the Lord? And is going to go terribly wrong, and are people going to well, I guess them never coming back's no big deal. But, is it going to, not be encouraging? So what you're going to do is you're going to grab one of these cards, and you can hand it to somebody. So you take your card and you're going to give it to somebody else, and they're going to look on both sides, and they're just going to listen. And by the way, when you first start to listen, I myself hear nothing. Nothing. Always crickets chirping. I don't know about you, but I hear nothing. And then if I just go, just take a deep breath, I'll start to perceive something, I'll start to hear something, I'll start to see something. And then as I start to talk, the rest of it comes out. Isn't that so crazy? I don't know why that always happens that way, but that's how it always happens for me. Is that as I start to engage in the process, then it just starts to flow. And by the way, if somebody gives you a super bad word, just say, yay, I helped you practice, and go get a better one from someone else. It's so easy, because this is why this is called practice, right? Because when you go and play a sport you've never played before, are you a genius at it the first time around? Not, usually not. And so that's why this is practice. This is our chance to practice with and for each other. So if someone gives you some really crummy word and you don't feel super encouraged by it, hey, you help somebody practice, go get a better one. No big deal. So as kids, I think, will come in just a moment.